I am pumped
Jesus fucking Christ. Yes, psyched up. I'm so out of sorts now. I'm kind of impressed with how out of it I am. I'm Van Lee. We're talking Duck Dynasty. Today's episode, season 3 episode question mark.
8.
Duck be a lady, something like that. It's more bullshit like we discussed last week. We're 3 bearded men, much like ZZ Top. I almost said JJ Top. Which, I don't know how I feel about that.
That's the Christian music version of ZZ Top.
Ooh, I don't know that I want to hear that.
Jesus Top.
I'd be curious. I'd give it a chance.
Well, I'm Van Lee, joined by Brian Vaughn.
Uh-huh.
And Spencer Hendricks.
Yeah, I'm sorry about screaming earlier.
No, it's fine. It was appropriate.
If there was ever
you
a time...
psyched up about Zed Zed Top.
About JJ Top.
Ever time to scream, it is while talking about Duck Dynasty.
And screaming's going to happen
Christ.
on today's show.
More in anger than excitement, though.
This show, oh my goodness. It's,
You seem like you didn't like it that much.
Do I?
Yeah, last week you seemed like you did.
Yeah, all you could say is, man,
Positive
this is
things.
compelling television.
Yeah, this week not so much, huh? Weird that happens. Well, we have chugged right through a second edition of this stupid show. And it's not a whole lot different from the first episode we watched in that it's a stupid show. I have nothing else to add. Let's just get right into this episode and then we can move on past it.
Do you think Duck does be a lady?
Duck be a lady.
Philosophically?
Well, female ducks have corkscrew vaginas to protect against male ducks' corkscrew penises. Real thing. Go look it up. It's kind of gross.
Unfortunately,
I actually
have...
Ducks are rapists.
They are rapists. That's right. Yeah. Another fun fact.
I have looked this up. It is alarming.
Ducks are nasty.
This was not covered in zoo books.
Yeah,
I'm glad they shoot them.
You know, they talk about that with some animals that are not necessarily seen as such, but they say that about dolphins. They say dolphins rape. They say dolphins rape and murder, and they're just awful.
They're like real horny.
One thing that's alarming to me is that apparently, like, the smarter the species,
the more likely rape happens.
Yes.
That is very scary. You're right. And that is something that is not good for humans. We have the biggest brains of anyone I know. Like I know chimpanzees come close, and they probably rape too. I don't know much about chimpanzees.
They do a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not safe.
Monkeys. Ooh, they rape a lot too. Monkeys
this isn't really how I thought we'd
I'm a little bit upset.
I'm interested in this little
Let's make it more
trajectory.
wholesome. Let's make it more wholesome.
This will be the episode that goes down forever as
you're right. We're not going to make this wholesome now. We're going to talk about a girl changing dresses 40 times while Willie stares at her with his big fucking beard.
I got to be honest, though, talking about animals being rapists is probably more interesting than anything Duck Dynasty ever did.
Actually, that's kind of what the show is.
No comment. Let's just do this. Let's get into it. Now, the show opens and we're at Willie's house. The family's having a nice little treat in the form of some ice cream, eating it out of some gaudy flower bowls.
I hate those bowls.
Oh, boy. It turns out Willie's daughter, Sadie, is trying on one of her multiple homecoming dresses, and it's the first that Willie's heard of this. Absurdity.
Because I'm sure they told him about the upcoming event for his daughter, and he just didn't give a shit.
At all. Probably didn't even internalize it.
And doesn't know anything about any of these topics. Like, what's a dress? What's a homecoming, son?
I have a daughter?
What do they have on them?
Willie finds having to have more clothes than just the one camo shirt is an absolutely disgusting concept to fathom. Although he is thrilled that Sadie's been nominated for Homecoming
That's true.
Court.
He is proud of that.
Court, is that a thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember
like
that.
what
Didn't
the
participate.
whole thing is
I think it's the whole royal thing, right?
Yeah, like the king and the queen.
Yeah.
That's what they mean, like King Arthur's court, like that sort of court.
But which one
Sure.
of them pulls the sword out?
Willie, apparently, at this point. Or Cy pulls his sword out a couple of times. Well, Sadie comes downstairs and reveals her very modest homecoming dress, and Willie finds it to be the sluttiest fucking thing he's ever seen.
That was my first note, is the dress is not even that short. It's not short.
It looks like a homecoming dress.
I don't think Willie knows what a dress is.
No.
This is what I've got.
It's camouflage bullshit and America headbands. That's all he knows about.
Where's the flag on that dress?
The stars and stripes need to fly forever when you're dancing on the dance floor.
He shows nothing but pure revulsion at the sight of his teen daughter's milky shoulders. You see, Willie understands that one peek at Sadie in this dress, and any teenage boy or girl, if they so choose, is going to immediately splooge in their pants.
And all that shit, yeah.
Because it is so fucking hot.
No. That's not the real redneck fear. The real redneck fear that Willie's having here. Sadie, a boy might find Sadie attractive. Sadie might date a boy.
That is pretty horrible.
This is such a TV trope too of like the protective,
Yeah.
the overprotective dad.
And clueless in that sense of like, I don't understand how the world works, and I don't want to have to face the fact that my daughter will ever be someone who isn't a kid. It's really lazy. And I know that surprises you guys that they didn't really think very hard on what Willie would be as a parent.
It's shitty parenting in the sense of when you have a kid, some people think this is my kid, I own it. Other people like, oh, I've brought a person into the world. Let's let this person be a person. They clearly are like, no, this is mine. You do what I say.
Yeah, and just the idea that it's so unhealthy too to believe that your child should have no sexual feelings. you know, in a certain sense, and then that kind of idea of like, why would Sadie want to look attractive or feel good about herself? The elements of this that Willie's just not getting.
Got to have that camo and that America headband. Well, there's an easy fix for all this bullshit, this dilemma. Willie can take Sadie dress shopping and pick out something more befitting of the daughter of a swamp hillbilly.
Maybe a tarp, a body bag.
and I have to say, his wife, Corey, she loves this. She's like, sure, you think you can do it better than me? Go ahead and give it a try.
Yeah, she knows it's a bad idea, but like a good Christian woman, she understands that it's not her place to criticize
she knows
a man.
her place.
Interfere in the head of the household's machinations.
Does anyone want any biscuits?
Isn't that precious?
Any more ice cream, son?
I was a little.
It's coming up.
Let's
yeah.
talk about the ice cream.
I was a little shocked that I think Corey has the most thick accent in the show.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, that's
surprising.
noticeable.
Most
it's
thick.
adorable
Thickest would
when
work
women
also.
do it, but with men and their beards, they don't talk so much as do.
Willie talks about those pants that convert from pants to shorts, and the women of the house show their disgust. John Luke decides at this point the best course of action is to make the most obnoxious fucking noise he possibly can. He scrapes the bottom of his ice cream bowl with his spoon. Why is this on television?
And it takes up a good chunk of the runtime.
It's like 5 minutes.
And it is a grating sound.
It's the worst.
Couldn't reach for my volume fast enough.
And you talked about getting comfortable in your chair.
Yeah, I
prepared
was
to
all
watch
ready
the
to
show.
go, and then immediately I'm jarred into action.
What did you actually feel hostility toward?
I
named
did.
John Luke.
John Luke.
Did you hate him in that moment?
Oh, yes.
I, at this point, was really fixated as well on how John Luke and Sadie do look related.
Yeah, they do.
But they do not look like they're related to Willie or Corey.
That's true.
Are they?
They were born of the swamp.
But like that is a real family, right? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I didn't look.
Yeah. Now, they do adopt a kid at some point,
Oh.
but no, that's natural born kids
see.
for them. I just don't understand.
Like a kid, like a young goat.
Yeah. Like that new movie that's coming out called Lamb. Have either of you seen
No.
this? Go check it. It's basically a lamb boy gets born. It actually looks interesting.
Now, I've been a little more fixated on the movie Pig, starring
Nicolas
Nicolas
Cage.
Cage.
Yeah.
Oh, that's supposed to be really good.
Yeah,
And I don't
I'm
want to
excited.
I don't want to get too caught up like in these things either. I have one more question though, real quickly. Have you seen that one? I think it's like Sweet Tooth or something on Netflix, where it's like a half deer girl or something who is in the woods and just eating things.
No.
Heard of this, but I don't know much about it.
It's one of the top rated Netflix shows, or at least it was like a month ago or something. And she's a hybrid, some kind of animal thing, and she's in the woods and she's eating things. And
Every episode, she barfs a newborn kitten, apparently. There's a
is
whole
that
thing
real?
to it. Yeah, it's like very surrealistic, like David Lynchian stuff.
It's supposed to be really good.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, we got a lot of things to watch now.
But I just don't understand what producer sat down and said, this is gold, watching this kid scrape this fucking
Now,
bowl.
for the next scene, what we're going to do is we're actually going to put Cy in a room filled with styrofoam and forks.
Ugh.
And we're going to...
Basically, anything with Cy, don't do that.
Corey then suggests that they go back to the dress store tomorrow. That's not going to work for Willie. He's supposed to go fishing. Sadie says, guess what, Dad? Change of plans, because if you're going to insist on me getting a new dress, you have to get this done. Willie then says something stupid about denim, and we fade into that same intro scene.
He wants the dress made of denim. He presumably wishes Sadie were made of denim.
Yeah.
Denim child.
And I'm telling you, I have lived in a small town where I've seen the people who wear those like ankle length denim skirts, and it's not good. I'm scared of those people.
They always have the long blonde braided hair. It's like a religious thing.
Dead
I know exactly
eyes.
what
They've
you're
covered as much of themselves as they could.
Can't
with,
show
with
ankles.
the denim and the hair.
Fundamentalist fog.
talking about. Yeah. Now, returning from this intro, we're back at Duck Commander headquarters, and it turns out there's an emergency. The coffee pot is broken.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, no. Now, rather than just go pick up a shitty, cheap coffee pot at the store.
A bunch of rich people, they don't have any solutions to fix a coffee outage.
Can't do that. You can't send the receptionist or someone else, to do it. What do we do about this? Well, Jace decides the best course of action is to sit around and bitch about it. He reveals he can do without a lot of things, but not coffee.
I have luxuries I can do without. Electricity, air conditioning, toilet paper. There's not a lot of things I do habitually, but one of them is I drink coffee in the morning. The luxuries I don't do without are my black coffee. You can't take a man's coffee, and that's it.
It's just a caricature trait, right?
Yeah,
that's all it is.
I was talking about this last episode, that this is kind of Jace's shtick, is he's supposed to be a dry, funny, and these are I don't know, Kathy level jokes. Yeah, I gotta have my coffee.
Minion meme.
I like coffee a lot, so I get where Jace is coming from, but there's a lot of solutions to this apart from just, I'm not going to do anything for the first half of this day because of this.
And
if you wake up, you don't have your coffee, you can't do anything.
Yeah,
right?
that's not real. That's
Except
not real.
for make canned American workplace jokes.
And while sitting there at his workplace doing nothing, doing absolutely nothing, just sitting there talking about how he doesn't have coffee. This reminded me of that Columbo episode where he asks someone for coffee for the first 5 minutes, except they made it a half of an episode in this.
Yes,
they just kept going
it's the B plot.
Yes, they made it a whole thing. Columbo used it for 5 minutes and it was the opening. This is that's 50% of the whole episode, right? That's good enough. Someone wants coffee.
And no one cracked an egg on a murder weapon in this episode.
Not yet.
But ever the wise sage, Cy chimes in, Uncle Cy, saying, "You're just going through caffeine withdrawals, Jace. There's only one thing you need, a nice hearty shot of B12 in the ass, and you'll be good to go."
I wonder where he was that he might have received this B12 shot in the ass.
That's an old people thing, too. That they think that's a catch-all, like a cure-all.
Well, you did hear him say, of course, that this happened. This was a trick of his he employed in Vietnam.
In Vietnam?
Oh, yeah, it's always Vietnam.
Jack. I killed lots of Jacks in Vietnam, Jack.
I really don't think, I don't think it's, and they don't prove this true later, but I don't think it's necessarily the caffeine that is the issue with coffee. It's the ritual. It's my whole routine is thrown off here. He's saying you just need the substance straight in you and you won't even care about the coffee. Let's just
solve.
Yeah, exactly. B12 too. What is B12?
Vitamin.
I mean, it made Miguel Tejada 10 years younger.
Well, that's not going to work, however, because Jace is afraid of needles. And there's a whole bunch of just dumbass antics here. Jace says Willie needs to get his ass in gear and send out one of his little minions to get a coffee machine. One of those non-Robertson employees, Godwin, he stands up and the crew says, "No way. Oi said little minions, the yellow ones in the overalls with the one eyeball that tickled me to death."
I had Godwin listed down in my notes as, what if Goldberg had worked at AutoZone?
Very accurate. Still jackhammers people, but it's just less people.
Did you guys see the commercial on Tubi with Goldberg? Oh, shit. It was Stone Cold. I always get them confused.
How fucking dare you?
Yeah, that is a sin right there.
They look like the same person.
One of them can wrestle.
Yeah, I believe me. I'm not angry. Which one of them can wrestle?
One of them's charming. And
Stone Cold. Stone Cold's a legit
he's
good
incredible.
wrestler.
Oh, Goldberg
like
wasn't?
Professional.
Okay.
Goldberg, no, he's just a big guy.
Oh, so what? Because I thought, Stone Cold was nice, but Goldberg was maybe a better wrestler is what I thought. Because Stone Cold's awesome personality-wise.
No, he has it all.
Stone Cold was a serious wrestler. It was his passion in life.
He's in this commercial where he's calling people to, I forget what it is, insurance or something. But they disagree, and he's like, "You're going to do it because Stone Cold tells you need to do it."
I bet you he said because Stone Cold said so.
He did, yeah.
That's his catchphrase, of course.
And then I bet you he flipped him off twice.
Oh, he didn't do that.
Oh. And then someone threw a
stunner.
beer at him, and he cracked it open and just poured it on his head.
Gave someone a Luthez press. Now the group continues bitching, and Cy says, "Hey," a couple dozen times while saying he makes his own tea. That way he doesn't have to depend on anyone else to bring it to him. 6 or 7 more minutes of several hairy men sitting around complaining, and Willie bursts through the door.
You just described this podcast.
Actually, yeah.
Only 60 or 70 minutes.
Jace tells Willie, of course, "Hey, we got a problem." Willie says, "God damn it, I know. It's the coffee machine. You've been bitching and moaning about this freaking thing forever, and yet here all of us are not doing the very simple task of just getting a goddamn coffee maker for $15.
It does turn out, though, it's just that day, right? Because he says, this happened
an hour ago or
yeah,
something
like that.
Like that.
Which again is so scripted because that's the joke. He Jace is so dependent on coffee, he can't even make it an hour.
Yeah, he's texted Willie. He's been a big old bitch, and it's just because of a few hours without coffee.
If only there were another way to procure coffee.
I wonder if we find one. Well, Willie puts on his boss headband and he says, look, 2 things. First, there are boxes in the hall that aren't at all just empty boxes placed there to make it look like these people actually do something. Those boxes need to be put on the shelves. And second, I'm sorry, Cy, but I can't go fishing right away. I have to take Sadie to the mall to get a new dress.
And you know all these people are actually wealthy by what they think people do in their workday. But, there's a bunch of boxes we just piled on the floor.
Yep.
Today, for your whole workday, put them onto these shelves.
I love that. I love that they actually think it's relatable.
Yeah.
That you spend the first half of your shift bemoaning the lack of coffee, that you can get away with that.
If I spent the first half of my shift not
you wouldn't have
steadfastly working, I would be fired.
Yeah, immediately. Well, Cy's pissed about this, but he's got a master plan. Hey, he's going to go with them,
Way more hays this episode.
Hey, mall, constantly.
It's the last episode in season 1, he does it less. I feel like it's a conscious choice.
Yeah, because we use people use like too much, but it's not
I
like this.
admittedly have gotten bad about that. I don't even care that I have.
Maybe that was intentional. They were trying to grow Cy as a character, and that's what they thought he was supposed to do.
It's a character beat Cy decided on his own. He's like, I've decided Cy not only was in Vietnam, he lived in Peru for 2 years, Jack. Cy likes tomatoes more than he likes olives, Jack. This is world building, Jack. Hey.
Well, essentially, he says, look, I'll go to the mall with you guys, and that way we can get it done quickly. We can get out to the swamp for some good old swamp fishing. Willie reluctantly agrees to this and tells Cy, hey, just don't be weird.
He does turn down 4 times, and then Cy's like, no, I'm coming. And he's like, fine.
So
do you think he was disappointed when it wasn't MAUL?
I could see Cy being really into just mauling some random stranger and saying, hey,
and then getting a dress out of it.
He gathers his swamp tea, heads out to their truck. And returning from the commercial break we just had, we find ourselves at the King of Hearts bridal shop, where Sadie, Cy, and Willie are returning Sadie's old dress and picking out a new one.
You think this is the first time a 16-year-old girl ever got a prom dress from, what did you say this was? Buck Rogers bridal shop?
King of Hearts bridal shop.
They were the only customers the entire time, by the way.
And if you're this fucking wealthy, you buy her.
They rented this thing out for however long they needed, I would assume.
I mean, they have a very real employee here, and she asks, what's wrong with the old dress? Willie
I work here for real.
There ain't enough material. And she says, okay, well, what are you looking for? Sadie, of course, replies, short. Willie replies, long. Oh, no, what a conundrum we have here. Lastly, the employee says, look, we have a policy against customers bringing in jugs of their own homemade swamp juice. And Cy immediately begins to walk away, saying, they'll have to pry from my cold, dead hands, Jack.
Which is coincidentally, Jack, also what's in here for real.
Cold, dead hand juice. Sadie begins picking out dresses, and Willie shuts them all down because he says Sadie doesn't seem to understand what clothing is. We wear clothing to cover up our things.
And show how patriotic we are.
And again, his idea of good clothing is a camouflage jacket, loose pants, and an American flag headband.
Yep. Also, I like how he wants her covered up, and the parts that aren't covered are just shoulders and
calves.
Yeah.
If you show him a shoulder, what's next? You might give him the cold shoulder.
Got the idiom in there. Now, meanwhile, Cy has his eye on a mannequin he's taken a liking to, and he gives us a little glimpse into the daily life of Cy.
Hey, look here. When I was young, I used to practice talking to girls by talking to mannequins. Here you go, Donnie. Don't lose your head.
So he has someone chained up in his basement, right?
Yeah, and I also, I feel like what Cy's leaving out is that he probably had a relationship with the mannequin, and that was his first true love. Perhaps that's the woman he's been with this whole time.
Could be. We don't see her in these, so I don't know. This whole scene went on way too long. It went on way too long, and Cy's mannequin thing, I think, comprised 80% of the runtime. He's ripping their arms off here and there,
touching himself with them,
talking to him weird.
This whole Cy scene of quick cuts of him saying different jokes to the mannequin, which he's obviously not really doing. Why would you be doing that alone with this mannequin? Unless, of course, you do have a sexual fetish for mannequins.
I guess maybe they're trying to imply that's just how wacky Cy is, but no.
Well, that's definitely the implication. And
yeah. Do you buy it?
You
It
know
doesn't
what?
sound
No.
like you do.
As it turns out, I don't.
Well, Sadie actually spots Cy doing this thing with the mannequin, and she's a tad concerned. So she tells Willie, "Hey, Uncle Cy's being a creep." Willie ignores him, says, "I got bigger problems to deal with."
Get in there and put on a longer dress.
Is my real grandmother a mannequin?
Well, Cy then reveals that maybe he does know what he's talking about.
If you're gonna be a ladies' man, hey, you got to know about the stuff that girls think is nifty. You need fall colors, and then if you accessorize it, it may work. But most importantly, hey, you need to know how they like to be handled. Grab your partner by the arm, dance her around. You got to have the right touch.
This is great advice from a man who makes his own bog water.
And this touch that Cy is giving women, I feel like would just make a vagina just close.
I like how he does like throw this purple thing over the mannequin and say that's a fall color. Like he just throws it over her.
This is also like a variation of the like an old person's rapping, or there's a white guy at a all black school and they're trying to use ebonics.
It's fish out of water bullshit.
Yeah, where you're the whole joke is that Cy is kooky and it's ironic that he would understand women. He obviously doesn't. That's the thing about this. That's why this could work. A fish out of water joke can work. It can't really work in reality TV that's not reality TV.
Yeah, exactly. He's a little too touchy with that mannequin. He completely breaks it. And this causes that employee to show up
everywhere.
And
mannequin's not going to be able to walk tomorrow.
Oh no! Gave it the ride of its life because it's not a her; it's an inanimate.
It's a
object.
womanican.
So the employee shows up and says, "Hey, is everything okay?" Willie tosses out "Y'all got anything in denim?" And do you know what a burqa is? Because he's a scumbag.
Again, trying to hit his little punchlines.
Mm-hmm. Now we leave the dress stop and instead find Jace, Jep, Godwin, Stinky, Bogdan, the Whooper, Cornpo, Scooter, Haas, Uncle Remus, and Big Etienne at a place called The Corner Coffee House. And it's essentially a hipster coffee store.
Again, not at all staged.
No, not even remotely. The boys here are here to caffeine up so they can move those empty boxes. But this ain't no McDonald's black coffee.
Oh,
and
man,
this is something.
Great. What's that first order? Cold raspberry slush.
Well, I'll get into it. These hillbillies ain't never seen nothing like this before. They all waddle up the counter. There's someone in line in front of them, like Spencer said, and he orders a raspberry mocha frozen decaf with soy and extra whip, and the yokels are fucking fuddled at this concept. So what the hell did this queer just order? That's the vibe you get.
Yeah, and he does stop him and say, like, now what was in that?
Yeah,
he's like, well.
They asked the guy.
And the guy, of course, like, of course he's a hipster-looking guy with glasses like the ones I'm wearing. It's just infuriating too, because the duck people think the world is their oyster, and anything that's not like how they would do it should be pointed out.
It's very wrong, and yes, should be analyzed.
Have they not? The other thing is in storyline here, because again, none of this is real. None of them have heard of a latte, or heard of espresso.
No, it's just coffee or nothing.
I know they're not going to coffee shops, but you would have heard of all of this.
No. No, they've never heard the words mocha, frozen, decaf,
raspberry,
soy, extra whip. None of it. It's all just foreign to them at this point. And like I said, they ask the guy, he explains it to them, and they still just simply don't at all get it. If you want a beverage that isn't swamp tea or black coffee made with the shittiest grounds that you can find, to Brian's point, you're just a piece of shit in these guys' minds.
Like, you're a worthless little Nancy boy prima donna if you want your coffee to taste anything like anything other than Jace's urine.
Later he says, I'm just going to get a $12 coffee pot. That's what he wants. He wants just swill like diner coffee.
Yeah. Well, now it's our boys' turn to order, and they simply don't know what. They're looking at the menu. They can only see one instance of the word coffee.
Gourmet coffee.
And they're not realizing the real problem, which is they can't read.
Well, and they obviously want just black coffee, but they refuse to say, I want black coffee. They never even say
it. And that's the other thing, too, is they're talking to the woman that works there, and that's the whole premise is they won't just order. They have to harass this girl and, like, essentially make the whole thing take longer. And I'm sure, again, everybody's paid. They've probably, I don't know how many people are actually actors.
The idea of them doing that, though, is horrible.
Yeah.
Like, that you would go into a place like that and say, you fancy ass fun, you motherfucker, serving gourmet coffee. That's just this mean. And if you want coffee that way, don't go there.
And you chose to walk in here, and then you're harassing everyone. And I've now been in the workforce for over 20 years, and the majority of it has been in some form of customer service, retail, food service, all that stuff lumped into one. And this kind of thing is very much a skin crawl thing for me, even when it is staged.
Because it's just, you don't want to deal with the people that are doing this to you, and they do it.
Yeah.
And on
purpose. Like, they come in, hands on hips, ready to fucking dig in and have their big day out.
And finally, the employee just asks, do you want plain black coffee? I can do that. And they still refuse to say anything. In fact, what they say...
What's your strongest?
She's like, what's the strongest thing you got? She counters with 4 double shots of espresso, and they're like, all right, that sounds good. Let's go with that. I could ask for black coffee, but instead, I'll just take this because it's going to be kooky and wacky. One of them asks her, actually, if she thinks this will put hair on their chest, and she says, oh, yeah, I guarantee it.
You know, the funny thing about this episode is when they introduce the A and the B plot, that Willie and Sadie are going to go dress shopping for a prom dress for Sadie, and that all 19 of these rednecks are out of coffee and need to go to a hipster coffee shop. At that point, you know the rest of the episode entirely.
That's it. You're done. You're set.
Yeah, you know exactly how it'll play out. You know what the beats are they're going to try and hit.
And the bog hobos then drink down this espresso, and some of them like it. Some say it tastes like motor oil. And now that he's filled his coffee hole, Jace decides to take a gander around the coffee shop and begins to notice that some of these people are reading or writing or speaking to one another.
Looking at, like, one of them's doing schoolwork.
He's just disgusted with it,
I think I saw a couple laptops.
How dare they? He's just I don't think these people are going back to work, which is ironic considering he hasn't.
And then he says that line like, I don't know if these people even do work. He says it like
again,
that. Like
just,
it's
conservative thing of like, anyone who's not exactly like me is lazy. They're leeching off me.
Yeah, if you don't just have the most normal common schedule ever where you get up at 8 and have your coffee and then clock in, whatever, or don't clock in because I'm sure they're salaried and don't do shit. But if you don't do it by the book, you're not worth anything.
And it's even the thing where they think they're doing. It's the thing I bitched about a couple episodes when you told me I was doing this. The pull yourself up from your bootstraps. I was successful. I can't fathom that it was luck that got me to this point.
Yeah, and that's what
Maybe
leads people
hard
to think that that's real. Just try hard enough.
Yeah, and you get there. All you have to do if you want a job, just go hit the pavement, baby.
And if you don't get what you want, then it's on you.
It's your fault. Yeah.
Just imagine if you have the 20 advantages that I had, it's probably pretty doable.
Exactly.
Now, just when we hear some mic distortion, a man says, "Hi, welcome to Afternoon Flowetry," and saying this is a real thing. This isn't staged or fake at all.
Not at all.
They, again, fish out of water concept. Our disgusting duck people basically say, we need to get out of here. Can't have none of this poetry bullshit. So queer, so gay.
I heard if you even hear one verse of a sonnet, you'll end up having sex with another man.
Okay, I need a break here, so let's do that, and then we'll come back and finish this Duck Dynasty business.
We get a transition scene next where I wanted to point out a plastic duck gets set on fire, and it's just presented as is. It's they're like, oh, here you go, this is normal.
Is it not a metaphor?
And we are back at the dress shop. Sai has meandered his way over to the men's suit section and somehow has found the Darkwing Duck collection, and he decides to try the stuff on. Sai ends up wearing a very purple vest and top hat, and he seems to be quite pleased with his new look.
He does.
He even says, look, I'm so dope, I'm illegal in 50 states. And also, don't you wish your boyfriend was hot like I am? Quoting that famous song, don't you wish your boyfriend was hot like I am, Uncle Sai, with my own tea drink?
The Pussycat Dolls.
I'm glad none of them
What
said
a
the word
modern
pussy.
reference for this show to make.
Well, Willie is at his wit's end because every dress Sadie puts on is too whorish for his ridiculously stupid Christian takes.
Every time she comes out there, she looks more and more like a slut.
Mhm.
Which this is sort of like the coffee thing. So Willie must be unfamiliar with what any woman has ever worn.
Ever.
That's what I've wondered is like, I told you guys this earlier, but I put in, I don't think Willie knows what a dress is. I just don't think he gets it.
I bet we could, we're not going to, but we could go back and watch old episodes with Corey, his wife, wearing very similar things.
Sure.
And he doesn't have a problem with it. It's just stupid bullshit.
Yeah, like
made
if somebody
up for this
grabbed
show.
her ass, you'd be like, that's on you. That's on you for wearing that.
Yeah,
Like, It's
exactly.
one of those things.
But now we also have to have a duel because she's my property.
Well, Sadie essentially says, just fuck it, I'm going to call Mom. Cy pops out of the corner wearing an immaculately white suit and singing that song The Frog Sings
This
in the
is
old
a
Looney
total
Tunes
Colonel
episode.
Sanders look here.
It kind of is, really. And Willie's having none of this. He says, Cy, take your cane and hat, get the hell out of here. I'm not in the mood. Back at the warehouse, the yokels are fired up from their espresso high, and they're flinging these empty boxes left and right, getting this task fully accomplished. At one point,
They're doing nothing.
Absolutely nothing. We see Jace doing push-ups. Godwin bench presses a pallet covered in boxes. Several of them try to do the Russian Kazachok dance.
This just is the Office episode where Michael and Dwight are gone and the rest of the staff, like...
Office Olympics.
Yeah, set up Office Olympics and then have to, like... I think they have, like, a box conveyor system they come up with. It's that, only allegedly not fictional.
Right. In this case, they actually act like they're doing real work, which is so funny because for a second I was like, oh, are they going to work now in my notes? And then it was like, no, they're not doing anything.
Stack empty boxes.
And they're saying, look at all this. It's at this point, it's like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. They're almost done for the day. All they did was bitch about coffee, go drink espresso, come back and have an energy burst and see like, fuck, yeah, I guess we'll go home for the day and do it all again tomorrow.
Good thing people like us are able to carry the torch for America.
It's just a bunch of dumb, hyperactive bullshit. And then they all say like, oh, the espresso's awesome. It's the best thing I ever seen. Split seconds later, they're like, oh, this espresso rush is short-lived. They're all nauseous. Jeff's heart is beating too hard. Godwin says, I hit a wall. And Jace is like, man, I'm exhausted too. Godwin says, no, I actually ran into a wall. I don't know what that means, but
I guess
I don't
the
either.
pallet driver, he broke the building.
All the signs are here that what they really had is meth.
yeah, pretty much.
I mean, TV shows act like coffee and sugar specifically are hard drugs.
That's what's so hilarious is like, I'm sorry, but caffeine does not affect me that way. I like caffeine, but it's very mild. The effects aren't like this.
Now, after a few minutes of just bitching about he feels, Jace says, you know what? I think I'm going to go buy a $10 coffee maker. And again, that's what you should have done in the first place. If this were real, that's what they would have done.
At the outset.
Or just like you said, have the assistant bring it for them.
And this
That's all they
also
wanted.
gives these guys an excuse to be like, it must be the wares peddled to us by the liberal media at that coffee shop, essentially.
They're trying to corrupt our innocent ways, our innocent Christian ways with their espresso machine.
Coffee's probably vaccinated.
Back at the dress store, Sadie and Willie are at an impasse, and she can't find a dress she likes that he approves of. Willie gets frustrated and decides to step out for a minute. Again, he runs into Cy, this time wearing his purple pimp hat and camo tuxedo vest, and he tells him, I'm not in the mood for your bullshit. Cy says, I've got some sage advice for you. Tells Willie he's being overbearing. Sadie's no longer just a little girl anymore.
Ugh, gross.
She's bloomed into a full-grown woman.
Ew.
You can't handle it like I can. Willie. Look at your daughter's precious body.
Exactly. Like, trust me, I've seen it. She's a woman now. It's like,
I've
Cy,
been closely monitoring the situation.
I smelled it. She's a woman.
Oh, God. Oh.
It's like, Cy, stop it, okay?
Stop talking, Cy, please, for the love of God. Cy asks Willie, how old's Sadie now? Willie, who's, an excellent parent,
She's
says,
at least 13.
13 or something or other. And Cy's like, no, you dumbass, she's 16. Beautiful flowered years old.
What does he say? Like, your mom was married at that age or
At
something?
that age,
Yeah.
your mom was married.
Your grandmother was married at half that age.
You can't control this precious, beautiful woman who's flowered and blossomed into something I want so
Fully
many pieces
blossomed.
of.
He keeps saying bloomed and blossomed, and it's gross. It's really upsetting.
But he is
Sadie's
right.
just a couple inches away, like,
listening
ew.
to this. Yeah. He is right in essentially saying, look, you need to let her make her own decisions. She's a person now.
He was right. He didn't understand why, really, but he was right up until he started getting nasty.
Yeah, exactly. And, Willie realizes, hey, he's making at least some sense. And Cy goes ahead and blurts out this little gem.
Hey, look here. You can't be worried about an inch of fabric. Hey, there's way more important things to worry about. Hey, Y2K, shark attack, lead paint, Dakota Fanning, smallpox, Woodstock, moonshot, Watergate, punk rock, rock and rollers, cola wars. Hey, I can't take this anymore.
What is that, like a rap?
That's Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire.
Yeah.
With some bullshit
With
thrown
Dakota
in there.
Fanning in there,
Yeah,
yeah.
Some of it's not real, but a lot of that somehow is real. Because we all know Cy loves Billy Joel,
Oh,
apparently.
yeah. There's no way he wouldn't.
What do you think that throughout the run of the series he quotes Billy Joel songs all the time?
I hope so.
I think that's more continuity than we can hope for.
Yeah,
in
that's
Duck
true.
Dynasty.
Willie at this point has realized his follies, and Corey shows up at the dress shop saying Sadie called her because it's been a disaster. Corey tells Willie to apologize. The whole wad of people goes back to the dressing room, and Sadie steps out in a turquoise boring dress, and Willie says, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. You know what? That dress does look damn good on your flowering, beautiful body.
Fully bloomed.
But guess what? It's the same goddamn dress she was wearing at home.
So Willie wasted everyone's time this whole day.
Could have been fishing with Cy.
Whose egg is on what's face now?
Her ovary egg, which her body is producing as a fully blossomed woman. Ugh. This is, of course, like we said, the dress that started the whole thing. Wow. What a not staged story we have seen here, folks. This was improv at its finest.
I at this point, in my notes, I got a little bit off track and unhinged and said things like, this is a huge waste of time. Nothing happened at all.
Nope.
And this is not a fucking plot. What is this shit?
Yeah, Willie just essentially said, let me go ahead and hijack everyone's life because I don't know what I'm seeing here, and then later on I'll agree with you all.
Yeah, basically he's like, I'm sexist, and that's all you needed to do.
They all have a group hug. Cy tries to weasel his way into it, and at this point, you know he doesn't need to be touching Sadie in any capacity.
She's fully blossomed. It's okay.
And even the rest of the family is disgusted at Cy trying to get in on this with his pimp hat and his white suit on.
Tried to bring a mannequin in there.
Oh, touching Sadie with the mannequin hand. That's like his dream.
It's possible Cy was trying on suits and stuff because he's Sadie's date.
Our episode then ends with footage from Homecoming 2012, where the whole group of Robertsons are watching shitty high school football, and Willie gives a nice voiceover, like in the last episode, explaining that sometimes you have to compromise with your family to keep everyone happy.
I hate these fucking
stupid
voiceovers.
Bullshit.
Willie didn't learn shit.
We do hear an announcer at the event mention their first freshman maid, Sadie Robertson, and she wears some horse jockey jacket and an animal print hat that she stole from the Queen. She's led down the football field by Willie. It's I guess, supposed to be heartwarming.
Is that what happens at homecoming? Is the dad? I
Gives
thought that was
away.
the wedding.
I didn't know about. Yeah, I feel like that's just a
I
wedding.
think Willie made that up and was like, "This is how this
as an
is gonna
excuse
go."
to like stare at all the boys.
I think it's because they're famous and like everyone in town knows there's the Rich Robertson Duck people. Let's bring them out because they need to be involved in everything.
The whole voiceover is centered on the idea of compromise. Also,
It's so funny because nothing happened compromise-wise except Willie was stupid and realized he was stupid. That's not a compromise. It's like, can you guys all forgive me for making you waste your entire day about a dress?
It does, however, lead to Willie getting to, his compromise leads to him saying the line, "Too little dress will make Daddy lose his mind."
Ew.
And I need to take a shower.
And that's it. We're finally done with this fucking shit show.
Well, no, if you want to be.
Oh, I do want to be. So I think, I don't know, did this episode, let's kind of do what we did last time. Brian, did this episode surprise you as far as Duck Dynasty goes, or what you thought it would be? Was this par for the course? What did you think of this whole package?
It didn't surprise me at all because I had seen the other episode that we covered, in that it was extremely boring and inactive. Nothing is happening here. It's just day in the life stuff that is fleshed out with nonsense, and it's hitting all the beats that you would think it would for the Duck Dynasty audience, too. Overprotective dad he'll take a shotgun to any boy who wants to take his daughter. I can't even finish my sentences talking about this show. It's just kind of, if it sounds like we're making fun of the Robertsons or this show by using stereotypes, it's because the show deals in them. It's the whole show.
Into them, yes.
So,
100%.
yeah, super boring again, just vapid content.
I was hoping that there might be something that I could go, oh, they tried this, or they did something out of the ordinary. But this is exactly the same as the first episode.
And this one almost is more boring because you get less of the cast.
That's true, because it's more just Cy doing his bullshit. And and anyway, it's just the caricatures presenting their story as they want to present the story with their little bits of improv dialogue in that's not good. It's just dumb shit no one would say, ever. Anything else before we move on to our next segment about Duck Dynasty?
No, we've covered it.
Good. Let's move on. Let's play a round of Swap Out.
Good.
Swap out.
Now, we haven't done this in a while, and I really was glad we hadn't, because I knew we would need to fill some time, because I just couldn't fill a whole bunch of time with this shitty fucking episode. So it's time to play Swap Out. In Swap Out, what we do is we talk about characters from other shows we've covered playing characters in, for example, this show. So I have a couple of scenarios I picked out, but right off the top of your heads, of the ones we've covered recently, is there anything that kind of stands out to you as something funny?
Yeah, sure. Like every single member of the Robertson family could play those teenagers that commit hate crimes in 21 Jump Street.
They would fit in perfectly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to do a direct parallel with the reality shows, like as I mentioned earlier. I really would love to see, and even if we just have them watch each other's shows, make them do their own swap out. I want to know what Jonathan Van Ness thinks of Willie. I want to know, and maybe they show up and they try to reinvent one of them. Maybe they tell you, Jace, maybe Karamu says, Jace, your coffee addiction isn't about the coffee, but it's about your troubled past. Let's set up all these crates. Like maybe they have deep conversations. I would like to see that interplay because the format is not much different. Honestly, it's just the stark contrast comes from who is playing the parts and the message that it's being delivered. I don't know that you can really apologize for any reality TV show, but at the same time, those two were so far apart in what they were going for. I don't even know what Duck Dynasty was going for.
Well, here's what I would say. I think if you presented the show to each of the groups, the opposite show, the Queer Eye guys would watch Duck Dynasty and find it hokey, but like, what's the term I'm looking for? They would kind of watch it and be like, oh, that's quaint. Quaint is what I would say. Because the Duck Dynasty shows do filter out a lot of the negative stuff that I presented in my presentation of this show. They present this as a fun, goofy family. It's subtextual that stuff comes out. So I think the Queer Eye guys would watch it and be like, oh, it's cute. I think if you showed the Duck Dynasty people the Queer Eye show, they would be like, what is this disgusting, high-falutin business? And maybe they don't get nasty about it.
Well, based on what you said about them in real life, yeah, they would.
Yeah, in real life. But I think they know they're putting on a show, obviously. So I think they tone that stuff down a little bit, aside from maybe Phil, who genuinely does think like, I'm doing what I do.
He's the worst of the worst there.
Absolutely. So I think if we just did that, now the scenario that I came up with in my head a couple of days ago, for whatever reason, I don't know how I got to this point, was what if the Queer Eye guys, the Fab Five, went to war, like physical drag out war with Duck Dynasty? Here's a couple of scenarios I envision.
I think the Fab Five can take care of themselves.
I think they would win. I think Duck Dynasty obviously has money, they have guns, they have trucks, they have all that, but they would underestimate the Queer Eye guys. In fact, I pictured just in my head, like if
you
it
pictured Karamu like leaping at someone,
like he would be the physical brute, and I think he could physically handle himself. But I pictured like a basement setting. If it's a show, the camera pans up. It's a dark basement. Cy is tied up. He's got his arms chained to the wall.
I think this is where I was going to go.
And he's like, "What the hell's going on, Jack?" When you see Anthony
this is
slowly
exactly where I was
creep
going.
Out of the corner, sharpening his knives,
and he's staring him in the eye the whole time
because he is scary.
There's a couple of corgis watching.
Mm-hmm. So I think that would happen. I think maybe like Tan would try to be diplomatic and then get murdered immediately.
Yeah, no, he wouldn't last. Tan was too soft.
And we're like, oh, the Duck Dynasty people, they've got the money. They know how to build stuff. But then we're revealed they attacked the compound of the Queer Eye Fab Five. Bobby has built up like a fortress. He has that Netflix money and his own money, whatever. And he is a master craftsman, and it's booby traps and all kinds of stuff. I just find this whole concept fascinating.
That's amazing.
Bobby actually segs into what I was going to say, which is I think you could have Bobby Burke actually take the place of Bobby Bulp and Hey Dude, and have Bobby Bulp be Bobby Burke and Queer Eye.
That's elaborate.
Whoa. Yeah, my head is spinning.
You could also have Bobby Burke be Cousin Danny and King of Queens, and there probably wouldn't have been any issues with the lawn work.
That's true. Yeah, it would have been great.
So
and he would
he come there in his uniform with the bat slung over his shoulder, and Leah Remini's just talking about like, oh, we shouldn't invite him over to our grill out. It might hurt his shoulder. I know that was the other one, like Flash McGuire or whatever, but
same difference.
Yeah, they're all the same.
Well, who do you think would best help their swamp daughter pick out a dress from our other shows? Who would you like to put in that scenario?
We need Tan to do that. If Tan and Sadie went to that place, that episode would have been like 5 minutes because he would have found the exact thing and it would have been over and she would have been so happy. Now, Willie obviously would have disowned her. It would have been the end of Duck Dynasty because he would have had to have murdered someone in his family. But there is no question that the Fab Five would have connected really closely with Sadie and someone like her.
I think it would be Xena, and I think Xena would represent a positive, strong female role model.
Which would
Sadie.
ultimately corrupt the family from within because
It
you
would
can't be a
destroy it.
strong woman.
Yeah. And
in
then
this
also,
this
Xena might
family.
just straight corrupt the family with her fists.
Murder them with their chakra,
Yeah.
whatever it is, the big disc, like bladed disc or something.
So you don't want to see what dress Kevin Sorbo would have picked out?
Kevin Sorbo was
That
too
would have
busy
just been
talking
what
to
we watched,
Phil.
right?
Yeah, actually it would be.
It's the exact same because of the extra background that he has with the religious stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, it'd be the exact. He would have watched that nodding approvingly the whole time, like, yep.
As would
Willie?
have Chuck Norris.
Yeah, they all would have gone to camouflaged church or whatever and listened to Phil speak about the horrors of gay people and just been like, "Oh, this guy, he knows what's what." All right, I've got another one for you. Who would best ride a motorcycle through the Badlands?
Ooh.
That is a really, really tough one, but it's a really obvious one. Jake Summers from California Dreams.
Well, yeah.
Honorable mention.
But
Also
he
would
is
probably
Tommy
get beaten
Keating,
up, just
also.
like Reno in all those
I was gonna
shows.
say he's a little afraid. He's a little afraid of Cool Man's Dead
Not
Man's
in the
Curve.
end. He's got it back. He's got it back.
I didn't believe it.
What about Alf on a motorcycle?
He's,
I don't know if his
he's
feet
probably
can
too
reach.
small. Yeah.
What about Alf in the role of Bobby Sixkiller? Look how
Yes.
fancily I'm dressed, Reno Reigns.
And both of them have awesome poofy hair.
They
Alf
do.
is just all over his whole body.
What about Bobby Sixkiller as Alf? It's in the show Alf. The Tanner family takes in this Native American and treats him like an alien. They
Yeah,
can't show him to anyone else.
Also, Bobby Sixkiller as Running Wolf or whatever from Walker.
Yeah.
Only he would have
Switch the Native
he would have
Americans.
won.
Oh,
And then that
hands
would have
down.
ended the series.
I like the idea of how they spun the narrative on that other episode of Renegade. If they would have done that with Alf, like for instance, when the Tanners are just out shopping at the grocery store and they see Alf and he's super successful from his Wall Street business and they try to greet him and he's like, "Do I know you guys?" Like he doesn't have any idea who they are, and they're like, it turns out we really did love Alf all along, especially from Willie's perspective.
Looks like I just had Alfnesia.
And Johnny Cash is walking Willie Tanner through all of it. Listen, Willie Tanner, when you're looking down the barrel of a gun, wait, why do you have a gun, Willie Tanner? Oh, no. Oh, God, no.
Willie's gonna shoot himself.
Okay, who would fit in best at Bayside High?
Okay, well, you already stole my answer, Johnny Cash.
Here I am. I'm just a child at this school.
If he's truly been everywhere, man.
Mario
he's gotta
Lopez,
go to-
you're my dad.
I wonder if Cy could have been one of those annoying, obnoxious teachers at Bayside. The ones that were like, "Time for chemistry," like the one with the eyebrows, or what was the other one? There was a couple of
The Tinder teacher, he was swiping.
Yeah,
out
yeah,
the guy
bring
from
more
the
everything.
recent
original
one.
series.
I wonder if Cy could probably fit that role where he's a kooky guy who everyone's like, "Oh, Professor Cy, he's professor in high school. He's so funny," and maybe he would have some sort of line like that it could have worked with his portable tea jug. It's possible that you could play that off.
Or he takes over the role from
He could
John
be the
Michael
principal.
Higgins as the principal.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's just Cy on the intercom. Listen, Jack, somebody stole them iPads. Jack, hey,
Yeah.
what are we going to do about this?
I'm
Jack.
into this. I like this.
All right. What about who could teach straight people about fashion?
Oh, man.
Bobby Sixkiller and his turquoise vest.
He is very flashy. Not to mention, he's got those huge earrings, and
Mhm.
I believe he has a cool necklace at one point.
Yeah, I think
Shark
so.
tooth, I'm sure. Yeah.
I mean, if it's cool, it has to be.
Excuse me, sir. I was wondering, you were wearing that vest and not wearing a shirt on underneath it as you rode through the Badlands. Perhaps we could head over here and I could teach you about fashion. And then Columbo teaches everyone how to dress.
I happen to notice you were using the wrong colored pocket square in that jacket. It did not match your dress shirt or tie.
Any other swap out ideas you guys have in your brains?
I think the possibilities are fairly limitless. I would say another guy who you could fit, Mr. Belding as Breezer from Renegade.
Well, I think it's as good a time as any to transition into our next show. And
Right.
as we've mentioned at the top of this show in the last couple of weeks, we're playing a little bit of Bootu Boy Hot Potato, where a different host is choosing the show for the following host, a.k.a. Spencer picked Queer Eye for Brian. Brian picked fucking Duck Dynasty for me. And so I have the job of picking something for Spencer. Now, when Brian selected Duck Dynasty, he did so with the help of his sister
and with malice in my heart.
to antagonize me. It was cruel. It was mean. And you did it with that malice in your heart. So I have to pass on that malice. Or do I? I had a couple of choices here. And ultimately, what I decided to do was say, you know what? I'm going to be nice to Spencer. Someone's so mean to me. You don't kill him with meanness. You kill him with kindness. So I've chosen to give Spencer a shitty show, ostensibly, but a show that I know he will enjoy discussing.
Oh, you're going to do Frasier, aren't you?
Which is why we're talking about Frasier starting next
Yeah.
week. Baby, I hear the blues a calling. Something, tossed salad and scrambled eggs.
You know, the
time
only
has
thing,
come.
the only thing sad about that is that I actually do wish that had been in your hands. I wish that
Frasier.
that I'd heard you host that, but that's okay. I will happily take on those duties.
Well, and I got to pick the episodes, of course, for you.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I'll tell you the two we're going to do. I did what I often do when I select a show in the particular episodes is I look up worst episodes of blank show and best episodes of blank show. So I have what's regarded as one of the worst ones and what's regarded as one of the best ones.
Okay.
We're going to start with season 3, episode 23, and it is called The Focus Group. And the synopsis of said show is Frasier's show on KACL is presented to a focus group of 12 people, and unbeknownst to them, Frasier and Roz watch from behind a two-way mirror as they give their feedback. This episode stars Tony Shalhoub of Monk fame, and apparently he just doesn't like Frasier. And so therefore, Frasier has to get to the bottom of this. Why don't you like me? I'm Frasier. I'm very likable. And hilariousness ensues, whatever.
It's going to be awesome.
Next up, we have season 5, episode 14, The Ski Lodge, which is regarded as one of the best episodes on the show somehow. Roz wins a weekend at a ski lodge and trades it to Frasier. Daphne invites along her friend Annie, a swimsuit model. Frasier is taken with her, but she is interested in Niles. And I know there's some tomfoolery with someone pretending to like someone else, and it just gets wacky in Frasier
And
business.
it's tough for this poor woman when you're presented with 2 identical, immaculate cuts of beef. Which one do you eat?
Which one do you take? Kelsey Grammer or what the hell's his name?
David Hyde Pierce.
David Hyde
Ooh,
Pierce.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's one of those names.
2 hunks, and we get to find out about Maris and on and on. Now, let me go ahead and get this out of the way, my Frasier impression, and I'll toss to you and tell us what you think about Frasier. Here's my impression of every single episode of Frasier. Oh, Niles, I'm quite pompous. Oh, but Frasier, I'm more pompous than you. The end.
You're not far off. I think that I can't weigh in because that show, a lot of shows fell curse to this, went on just way too long. It had a few really good seasons in the I guess it was the early 90s, and I'll have to look up the data when I get into this when I host these. I'm gonna do it good and proper. But for now, I'm just going off of my gut reaction, which is that the spinoff was valid. A lot of people liked Frasier from
Oh, Cheers, sure.
Cheers, yeah. It was a popular character and a highly rated show. I didn't think that much of Cheers. I haven't seen that much of it, but people liked Frasier a lot and they wanted him to have his own show. It seemed to work. And I was actually introduced to the show at a very young age. I was maybe like 14 or so. And I just really liked, it seemed to me like I felt smart when I watched it. Because
It's very, at least
it's
presents itself as
sophisticated
highbrow.
humor. Yeah.
Mhm.
And then, and of course it has the foil in Frasier's dad. Shit, I forget his name.
Marty.
Yeah, but I mean his real name. We'll get
Something
into,
like
we'll
Marty.
get into
David
that.
Hyde Pierce.
He
It's all
plays them
David
all.
Hyde Pierce. Yeah, there's a bunch of they did the cast very carefully and they executed it pretty well. So much so that it went on for like 9 or 10 years or something. It
Too
went on too long, but it was successful in what it did for a little bit. So we'll see how these episodes match up with that because I haven't seen them all. I've only seen bits of them on rerun sort of style. Like I just watched them when they were on when I was a teenager, and I always enjoyed them.
And we always get the culture clash of Marty versus Frasier and Niles
Right.
because he's more blue collar. He was a cop,
Yeah.
but he's retired and his health
Has
isn't
to
great.
live with Frasier.
So he lives with Frasier.
He's
So
got
there's
his
a little
old
of that.
chair and this nice apartment in Seattle that overlooks that you can see the Space Needle, and it's this fancy place. And Marty is just not that guy,
Mm-hmm.
so he's constantly kind of bringing Frasier back to some other level that he doesn't want to be at. And he didn't raise either one of his kids to be the way they are. Like you mentioned, Niles is pompous, Frasier's pompous. Marty has none of that. So it's and the mom's not around anymore. She's presumably been dead for a long time. So there's some sort of element there of there is a clash of personalities. And then they have their British maid Daphne, who plays a huge role. Maris is never in the show,
Never
but she's
seen, but
always
mentioned.
talked about. Yeah,
Mhm.
there's a lot going on here. So I'm excited about this.
That's it for Bootu Boys and Duck Dynasty. Thank fucking goodness, we're going to leave this show in the dust, hopefully forever.
And
We'll
then
see.
next time after I finish hosting Fraser, I'll pick one for you.
That's right. So we'll be
I can't
swapping it out
promise you I'll
again.
be that nice.
We'll see. Hopefully it will be. That's also partly why I did this, because I had another show in mind. Anyway, I'm Vanley. You can catch us on Twitter at ManlyVanley, at LoudGuitarBrian. I fucking got it.
Yeah.
And then we've got at the number 3 French_hen for Spencer. You can
We've got
find
Ron at the
Real Made,
milady.
MADAY. We've got at Boob2Boys. You can find us on Instagram, boob2boys.com. If you really like what we do, check out patreon.com/Bootu Inc. And you can get access to bonus shows for just $2 a month or more. You basically fund this podcast. You help continue it, keep it going, and you get lots of funny shit that we do. We do a bonus episode at least once a week, some bonus stuff there as well. So for Brian and Spencer, I'm Van Lee, and we'll catch you next time on the Boob2 Boys.